Let's remember that the politics and the political system of the United States is based along the lines of the copycat on the political system and organization of Roman Republic. And the Roman Republic had a provision within their political system when Senate can pronounce any citizen of any level to be enemy of the state, which would automatically mean that all the legal protections are removed from that person, and any other citizen can cause harm to that individual. And in fact, this was encouraged by this provision and almost required in the legal language of this provision. Let us also remember that this exact provision in the Roman legal system has led, a historical fact, to abolishment of the Republic in Rome and creation of imperial state. Because it's exactly this provision that was invoked by the Roman Senate against Julius Caesar, the famous character in history, and made him an enemy of the state, and withdrew the legal protection from him, and withdrew all his rights as a citizen and all his political appointments, which forced him to march on Rome with his troops. And even though he had a very small, comparatively, force with him, he was able to overtake the power because he used his strategic talents and he played his cards very fast and vigorously. And the Senate could not prepare and did not expect such a move from Caesar, and they had to flee, or they chose to flee in fear that he will kill them, because obviously now he can do whatever he wanted. He didn't have any legal consequences because he was already outside of the law. In fact, this is a similar situation that was and is, in fact, on the books of the Roman Catholic Church, who, quote, took off or took after the powers of the Roman Empire later on and acted sort of like the Roman Republic and the Roman Empire embodied in one entity. And the Pope, of course, always tried to act as if it was a Roman Emperor, in fact. And hence all the autocratic powers and the same organization of the Catholic Church as the Roman religious system and the political system and all this female virgins and male authoritarian powers and all that. But the Roman Church had also a provision where they could excommunicate other people, which comes directly from the old Roman Republican rule, which never been removed. Even during the empire, the emperor could pronounce anybody. Of course, it was even easier. The emperor could just kill anybody. He was authoritarian ruler, but the excommunication is a direct ascendant of that old law from the Roman Republic. And now it was used famously on Henry IV king of France and Holy Roman Emperor in 10th or 9th century AD. And he too, with his army, walked to Rome, and he too claimed that he did it in order to ask forgiveness from the Holy Father and to bring back him, the Henry, to the church and re-excommunicate him. But that's not how this move was understood by the Pope. And the Pope, fearing that and nobody could stop, of course, Henry IV was the most powerful king in Europe at that time. He was walking back with his army, and so nobody could stop him. So the Pope just fled to the mountains and tried to hide in that castle of Ravenna, if I'm not mistaken. And then there is a famous painting when the Pope is on the walls of this mountainous castle, accepting apologies, but still not sure whether he's gonna get killed or he's going to have to forgive Henry IV for his acts. But nevertheless, it's a similarity. So the modern new rules of the United States that came to be in the last decade or so, since 9/11, of enemy of the state, enemy combatant, is the same rule that Julius Caesar was excommunicated from the Roman government or made enemy of the state by the Roman Senate in his day, which forced him, because he was in a position and he had talents, to come back to Rome, and the Senate chose to flee in fear of their lives because they couldn't be prepared to oppose his move with their own military. And Julius was also very clever in the way he sold it to people. He was always very giving in terms of money and finances to the citizens, always giving away most of his personal wealth to the people, because he clearly understood that politically being popular is much more important than being rich. Being popular and having population on your side, especially the way the Roman politics works, which is the same way American politics work, because America is the same political organization as the Roman Republic, very, very similar. The political power is much more prudent in this type of political system than financial. This will give you financial and political power together as long as you're popular. And nothing makes you more popular than giving money away and creating entertainment for people on a regular basis. And then when he came back, he was very clever in the way he explained himself to people, that he had to come back with the army, even though it was illegal to come to Italy with military force. It has to stay outside. By that time, there was a law like that, but he said, I broke that law because I had to protect myself to make sure that I can come back and explain my situation to people of Rome and to the Senate, of course, to people first. That was important for him to make a difference and separate this. Because he says, while I was back in the north pressing the interests of the Republic against the same people who sucked Rome centuries ago, the Gauls, obvious enemies of our city, I was pressing the interests of the Republic in the war, while I was being distant and engaged, was made enemy of the state by the Senate here in Rome, and I had to come back and plead my case back to people and the Senate, and since I was outside of the law, I had to come back with my army to protect me, so I don't get killed before I can plead my case. And therefore, The fact that they fled and I am here explains who's got the truth. It's plain for everybody to see, or at least I hope he would say. And there you go. This political system, by creating this type of law and making individuals who obviously have the power, that's why the state fears them and applies laws like that, these individuals may turn around and destroy this state and turn it into something different, like an empire, an authoritarian state, which Caesar did turn republic to. He was the last person who lived as a leader of the republic, and even though he got killed, that was a personal decision by a few of the aristocrats to assassinate him, but the empire was already way on its way. And there is nothing different that can happen in the current situation in America, because political system and the legal system and the law are very similar, and that means it will lead to the similar outcome.